Okay, so what do we have here? I want to bring your attention to FM radio, force multiplier. You must consider that when you're looking at reactions. Are they just simply a reaction, or do they also have a force multiplier involved in them? Okay, so we're going to consider this a column, concrete structure. And on this one, we'll consider it kind of weird, kind of anchored, two cantilevers anchored here and here. And this one we'll consider it by the columns on the concrete stacked on top of the floor slab, and cantilever over here. So this would be like a porch, and this would be the face of a structure with no porch. So the hooks are the anchors, if you will. Let's just consider them anchors and anchors. It could be just flat rebar, but flat rebar and hooks, the hooks give you more anchorage. How's that? Let's look at this right here now. I'm going to let it fall down. As it falls down, you can see it fall away, right? There's my pivot point. It can't do that without compressing this area here. This is the concrete. It's that zone I showed you in another video. It's a little zone. If I were to cut this out with a saw and had this steel anchored across here and no bottom steel, this would just still wedge down, fold over. The weight of this would act as a force multiplier, and that little bit of concrete there would also act as a leverage, a pry bar to bend that steel and fracture it there. So that would have that force multiplier effect. That's in the cantilever. It's the same thing going on here when you get a sag. If this is sagging, you're getting a force multiplier. You're getting some compression in here, a zone in here. But you're pulling on that top steel more so. On that top steel, sagging it. And back to here again. So so here's your tension side is what I would say. Cover. Your concrete cover is also, it works, this paste, if you have 2 inches, you still get 2 inches of tension ability in the concrete, the paste ability to bond and hold. Although no one counts that, it still counts. It's still something there. Imagine, again, if you just remove all the steel and just had this work, how far could you go out before this would finally fracture here? That's a theoretical question. How far could you go out? If you had a 9-inch slab, could you go out, 3 feet? Once you went to 4 feet, would it then just fracture? If you change it to a 12-inch slab with no rebar, can you then go out 4 feet? So it's a theoretical question I ask. That's without reinforcement. How far can you go out? 4-inch slabs you see that frequently with 4-inch slabs on sidewalks. They're non-reinforced, and you'll find voids underneath of them. So they're dead loads. They can quite often do, a good 4-inch slab can do 2-3 feet of just dead load, and with human trafficking. Okay, so this would be what that would look like there. Imagine this was a smaller scale, 4 inches only, let's call it. And the reinforcement, it would have a much smaller zone to resist than the larger, thicker pad would have this larger bracket. Remember the brackets in the other video, a bigger bracket. See the bit larger bracket? Compared to this bracket that looks like this with the support so close. You obviously can see that this bracket will flex and bend more so than this bracket. So a thinner pad will have more deflection than a thicker pad. Okay, now you should just think of that bracket idea. It's kind of a short video. I wanted to talk to you more about this, but I think I'll just end it with that. So because you gotta, you get this stuff absorbed into your brain palette. Okay, so compression zone, the load of that is pushing against here. I call it a force multiplier. The pressure there is also acting an ability to pull apart this steel here also. because it acts as a pry bar. So not only do you have the dead load, as a force multiplier, you have this pry bar effect, and that would result in tension in the steel. In the other video, I showed you that if you added more steel at the bottom, it would actually act as a stiffener if the bond is well within the concrete. If it's a good bond, it will act as a brace inside there that would then transfer down the steel also. Not just this, but also it's a stiffener. So before you bend, you could bend this down, but now if I put another pen here, if you will, not say now bend that top one, you're going to run into this. It's going to push into the concrete braced internally with all its surface bonding. And that would be here also, obviously, in that side. But this is where it's stopping it. It's resisting. So, of course, that creates a little a nail, if you will, a punching into there like a nail, the force in there. But the bond strength is so significant that this cantilever won't actually drive into the concrete. It won't be able to compress it more. It won't be able to displace the solid concrete in there, so it will work in that capacity. Sometimes it can get overloaded in that deflection, and then you might get the deflection. You'll get spalling, because now the rebar is like, oh, I can't take it. Now, if I could bend this, I would bend it for you, and you'll get some deflection in the steel, and the concrete will be displaced off of the steel, spalling, right? It will spall off of the steel. And so spalling is not just deterioration-wise. Spalling can also be from pressure and deflection in the metal, pushing off the steel, the concrete. All right, so I just wanted you to think of that. Hopefully this helps you. Take care.